So this video is about how to set up a Zoom meeting and how to do so securely so that your Zoom meeting information stays with just your students. I'm pretty cautious about this. I know some people like to do things differently than I do, so a lot of this is my opinion, but I've had a pretty good track record with it, although you can't avoid students if a student in your class just wants to share it with somebody else, it can be a problem. So the way I do it is in Schoology, I have a Zoom button that I've trained the students to know where to go, and you can see it doesn't do anything right now because the Zoom button is only active 15 minutes before the class starts. Check back around 7:45 a.m. on Monday, 9/21. So my students know that, and they know that it's not working. And if I forget to deactivate it, the way I do it, that Zoom link is gone, and if they click on it, it'll say it's an invalid Zoom link if I had forgotten to deactivate it, because I don't set up my meetings in advance. If you set your meetings up in advance, then there are these sort of permanently stuck things, and they can be shared around, and that's why the district allows you not. The district recommends that we not use the same meeting ID over and over again. It's especially important not to use your personal meeting ID. Your personal meeting ID never changes. So if that ends up on the dark web somewhere, then basically you can't use your personal meeting ID for anything anywhere, because bots can be attacking it all the time. So what I like to do is, instead of scheduling a meeting in advance for my 3 classes every day, what I do is or scheduling a recurring meeting, which is even worse because you're reusing that. I view my Zoom links as like fresh groceries. Like they're like donuts. Like day old are not great, and past that, you really maybe, I don't know about some of the freshness of those things. So what I do instead is I just press new meeting. And because I have my settings set to the default, it will not use my meeting ID, my personal meeting ID. It will create a new meeting ID every time I do that. And then I would normally press join with computer audio, but I'm using that for the screencast right now. So then I have my meeting. I'm all going. I make sure I got my virtual background the way I want it to. Maybe I share my audio of the music that I like to have playing before I have students join. And then I go here to where it says participants, and I can take a shortcut and just choose invite. Or if I open up the participants window, there's the invite button. Instead of inviting individuals, I'm going to press copy invite link. And now that invite link has the meeting ID. It has an encoded version of the passcode in the link. So all they have to do is click on it. So then what I do is I go back into Schoology and I edit my inline page. I do recommend not copying and pasting buttons, but building the buttons in the page inline in Schoology. I click on the button, I click link, I paste the link, I hit insert, and then I update this text. What I like to say is the Zoom button is active, jump into the waiting room. I'm not going to leave this way in case my students see it right now. Then when I hit Save Changes, this will update, and then they can click on this button, and they should be able to join the meeting. But they're only going to be able to join the meeting as long as I have the meeting open. As soon as I end the meeting, that link is now invalid. That meeting ID is no longer a Zoom meeting ID. So that way it stays super, super fresh. If you are worried that your students can't find this button, you can also send them a message here. But keep in mind that is also probably sending a notification email to some email address that could be forwarded on pretty easily. So they have to be a little bit more sophisticated to copy a link out of a button here, although not too sophisticated. It's not too difficult to do. But that's how I set up my meetings. That's how I keep things fresh. I don't use my personal meeting ID. If a student can't figure it out and they're sending you a message in Schoology, you can always come up here to the eye, and you can see there's your meeting ID, there's your passcode. And I can show that in this video right now, because as soon as I hit end meeting, that meeting ID and passcode is done and doesn't exist anymore. And if anybody tries to join that meeting doesn't exist anymore. And so then I go, as soon as I'm done with my meeting, I go in and I unlink the button and I change my text to set it for the next day. I forget to do that all the time, but one of the things that I think is really important right now is that we are modeling for our students that if we make technical mistakes, it's no big deal and we can overcome them. And if we do that with our mistakes, then they'll feel more comfortable when they make their mistakes, and then we can kind of all get through this a little bit better together.